Well, good morning and welcome to everybody. What a great day we have today for good government. And I noted that we're probably 30 degrees warmer today than we were last week. My name is Michael Keenan. I'm the chairman of the Ohio Public Works Commission. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Governor Kasich, for bringing this group together to kick off the renewal of Ohio's Public Works Commission in 2014. The Public Works Commission began in 1987 when state lawmakers undertook a bold policy initiative to invest in Ohio's most critical infrastructure needs. Since then, the unique bond between the state of Ohio and its local government partners has resulted in over 11,500 projects that build stronger communities in all 88 counties. Over the next few minutes, you'll hear from state and local leaders who recognize the immense value that these projects bring to the communities they represent and to the constituents that they serve. And you'll hear from representatives of labor in Ohio because they know this issue means jobs. With the leadership of Senate President Keith Faber and sponsors Kevin Bacon and Gail Manning, Senate Joint Resolution 6 passed unanimously yesterday and is on its way to the House of Representatives, where Speaker Batchelder and Representative Stephen Coonsey and Tim Brown have already begun to work on it. Stephanie Coonsey began to work on it. At $175 million each year for the next 5 years, and $200 million in each of the subsequent 5 years, Ohio voters will have the opportunity to approve a $1.875 billion investment over the next decade without raising taxes. A renewal vote this May will allow Ohioans to once again say yes to investing in roads, bridges, and water projects in the communities where they live. Thank you to the legislative leaders here this morning for their work on this important project, and thank you to Governor Kasich for his leadership in calling for a timely renewal of Ohio Public Works Commission. It's now my pleasure to welcome the President of the County Engineers Association of Ohio, Bob Guy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, everyone. I'm Robert Guy, Shelby County Engineer from Sydney, Ohio, and this program that we're going to talk about and hope giving you has been a workhorse for local governments. State capital improvement program, as he said, was available to local communities since 1987. As county engineers, we have been very actively involved in the 19 district integrated committees, either by serving on the committees or also working close with those committees. We have seen firsthand what the positive impacts have been to our communities and our counties with this program. The economic growth of Ohio communities is directly related to their ability to maintain their infrastructure. As county engineers, we work with all our communities, our townships, our villages, our cities, and we've seen the positive accomplishments of this program. As the mayor said, over 11,500 projects have been funded and an investment of $4.2 billion in local infrastructure. This program has been, and we hope it will continue to be, one of the most complete and satisfactory capital improvement programs available to local governments. Ohio's aging and strained infrastructure certainly needs to see the continuation of this program. I, as a county engineer, and speaking on behalf of the county engineers in this state, we can compliment the governor and our legislatures for moving this issue forward, and we hope that the communities will support it. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Suzanne Delaney, the Executive Director of the County Commissioners Association.
Thank you, Bob. Good morning. It is my pleasure to be here today on behalf of the County Commissioners Association of Ohio to continue a fine tradition dating back to 1987, enthusiastic support for the state capital improvement program. While topics such as waste disposal and water treatment, trash collection, road and bridge maintenance may not constitute exciting conversation in all social circles, it does for county commissioners because they are acutely aware of how important a sound infrastructure is to the quality of life and economic vitality of the communities that they serve. This program helps county commissioners pass on a strong infrastructure to future generations and does so in a way that fosters collaboration among units of government, thoughtful prioritization of projects, and does so with very little administrative cost. Thank you to Governor Kasich and the members of the General Assembly for putting forth legislation that seeks voter support to not only renew this program, but to expand this vital program for Ohioans. Thank you. It's It's my pleasure now to introduce Matthew DeTemple from the Ohio Township Association.
Thank you, Suzanne. My name is Matt DeTemple, and I'm the Executive Director of the Ohio Township Association. And we are very happy to be here this morning to lend our strong support to the renewal of the State Capital Improvement Program. The Ohio Township Association has been a supporter of the program since its inception in 1987 and the reauthorizations that have taken place since. Townships in Ohio maintain over 41,000 miles of roads, and we serve over 35% of the state's population. So infrastructure is very important to us, and funding for infrastructure is really important to us. This program has enabled tens of projects, hundreds of projects to proceed that otherwise wouldn't have as a result of funding through the State Capital Improvement Program. One of the first projects was a road repaving project in Guernsey County, Jackson Township. It was only an $18,000 project, but $16,000 of that project came from the State Capital Improvement Program, and that's why that small project happened. The success continues to this day. Just recently, Greene Township in Hamilton County had a rebuild of Bluebird Lane down there. That was over a $600,000 project. The State Capital Improvement Program provided 50% of the funds for that. Greene Township contributed 50% of the funds, and a successful project was completed. So the Ohio Township Association wants to lend our strong support for the renewal of the program. I want to thank the governor and the legislative leaders for having the foresight to reauthorize the program, and we intend to strongly support getting a ballot initiative passed. So with that, I'll turn this over to Sue Cave, the Executive Director of the Ohio Municipal League.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Governor, for inviting us to this press conference. The Ohio Municipal League represents the cities and the villages. That would be some of the largest and some of the smallest communities in the state of Ohio. And they have, since its inception, supported this program very strongly. We supported the first authorization, we supported the second authorization, and we're really pleased that this has received such quick action today on a third reauthorization of this program. It provides what we believe is one of the premier programs on state and local partnership throughout this country. As I talk to my counterparts in other states, we have a premier program to assist local governments with the repair and maintenance of their infrastructure needs. We wish to thank the governor for his support and recognition of the need for this. It provides jobs, it helps with economic development, and it helps with basic service provision in the state of Ohio. We thank the legislative leaders for their prompt response to the need for this every 10-year reauthorization. And now it is my privilege to introduce Pat Sink, the Executive Director of Local 18, Ohio.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you, Governor Kasich, for allowing me to be here representing thousands of operating engineers of Local 18 in Ohio. I want to recognize the House Speaker Batchelder and Senate President Faber, who's here. And I also want to thank the sponsors of this resolution of the Capital Improvement Program, Representatives Stephanie Coons, Tim Brown, and Senators Kevin Bacon and Gail Madden. I would especially like to thank Governor Kasich for his continued efforts to keep Ohio's economy moving forward. Funding of the long-standing capital improvements budget by bonds has been in the best interest of Ohio and our local and county governments for the last 30 years. The program of upgrading our local infrastructure from the sale of bonds without raising taxes dovetails together with the ODOT budget and turnpike programs and the additional county bridge programs the governor just put in place in October. These programs are creating good jobs for our membership, their families, and Ohioans, while making Ohio a good place to do business and to live. I would just like to express my appreciation once again to the governor for getting Ohio back on track and doing what a leader is supposed to do. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce Matt Squazzi, back to Ohio.
Thank you, Pat. Good to see you again. I too would like to echo Pat's comments with respect to our appreciation for the governor's efforts here and the legislative leadership as well. The Affiliated Construction Trades of Ohio, or ACT Ohio, was created by the state building trades to help encourage economic and industrial development and to promote industry best practices for Ohio's public and private construction. Our affiliates represent close to 90,000 of the most highly skilled, highly trained construction workers across this state. And what our members want more than anything is the ability to go to work. Renewal of the bonding authority of the Ohio Public Works Commission is critically important to the construction industry. With this scale of investment, $1.875 billion over 10 years, local governmental authorities will provide our employers projects to compete for and our members thousands of job opportunities. From our point of view, this effort will complement the Kasich administration's Turnpike Initiative, passed into law last year, which will result in $3 billion in construction work across the state of Ohio. Doing the math, just these two initiatives alone could result in close to $5 billion in infrastructure improvements and key maintenance over the next 10 years. In our industry, we view these initiatives, coupled of course with the state's annual budgetary allocations, as a commitment to rebuild Ohio. Working with local governmental authorities, the governor's commitment to rebuilding Ohio will pay great dividends that will go well beyond the work directly attributable to these projects. We're also very optimistic that the economic and industrial development projects that these investments trigger will compound the benefits for years to come. This level of investment allows our industry, our skilled workforce working in partnership with our employers, to continue to invest in our state-of-the-art training facilities, incorporate top-of-the-line instruction with the most challenging curriculum available for our apprentices, utilize cutting-edge technologies in the field to promote safety and efficiency for our workforce, and to deliver world-class results for our customers. ACT Ohio strongly supports Governor Kasich's Ohio Public Works Commission initiative, and again, we very much appreciate the leadership exhibited by Senate President Pete Faber and Speaker Bill Batchelder. And with that, I'll turn the podium over to Senate President Keith Faber.
It is a real pleasure to be here, and I'm going to make two quick comments before I call up the legislative sponsors of this initiative. And the first one is it's important to know why we are able to ask for this renewal. What the legislature does in this capacity is we essentially pass the resolution, put it on the ballot, and ask Ohioans to pass the bonds that then the legislature will debt service. And remember, it's kind of like a credit card. If your credit limit's high, you can't spend any more money. But when you pay down your limit, you have the opportunity to do things like this if you're going to live in a fiscally responsible way. And because of the leadership of the governor and the legislative action in the last few years, we've been living fiscally responsibly. And that gives us the capacity. Now, everybody knows our constitutional debt limit's 5%. I think Director King will confirm that we're right now at about 3.9%. And even with that, we're able to do the debt service on this within our existing operating budget, without having to sacrifice things that we all believe are important for Ohio, like schools, like other subsidies that we do for local governments, like all of the other things state government does. And so we think that this is eminently reasonable and eminently responsible, even going to $175 million a year for the first 5 years and $200 million a year for the second 5 years. So from a fiscal responsibility perspective, it is the strong fiscal stewardship that this governor has led us on and has put us in a position to be able to do this bond initiative, along with the other bonding programs that are out there, whether they're the capital budget or other things that come up. And so from that perspective, let me call up Kevin Bacon, who is one of the joint sponsors of the resolution that we passed yesterday, unanimously out of the Senate. For all of you who point out that sometimes politicians don't always get along, this is one of those moments where this is a bipartisan initiative. 85% of the things we did in the Senate last year were bipartisan, but this is one more example of where state government works despite the dysfunction in D.C. Senator Bacon.
Thank you, President Faber. Good morning, everyone. Just from looking around the room, I think it really highlights how important this initiative is. And I can tell you, as my experience as a Blendon Township trustee here in Franklin County, I know from experience how challenging it is on the local government level. I spent 5 years as a trustee, and resources oftentimes are hard to come by. And many of the things that we take for granted in our society, we drive on the roads every day, we use the bridge, we have sewage, we have water retention basins, things we don't think about, but it's very costly to replace those. And when it comes time to do that, it creates a very large burden on our local governments. So here we are at a time, we have a very fiscally sound budget, and commend the governor and members of the General Assembly for bringing our budget back in line over the last 2 General Assemblies. We have a strong budget, our credit rating is good, and this is a good time to extend the support to our local governments. It's crucial. And the great thing about it is, number one, it's going to be voted on by the citizens of Ohio. Number two, the resources are going to be allocated locally. There's a system of the 9 integrating districts. It's going to be a competitive system. So those closest to the source are going to be able to decide how these funds are allocated. And that's crucial in maintaining this process that has previously occurred. And at a dollar amount this year that's higher than the last one, but very fiscally responsible. I'm looking at our debt repayment. I feel very good about this. The resolution is going to go on to the House, to which Senator Manning and I will testify. And I look forward to getting this passed and on the ballot, and I'm going to encourage all Ohioans to support it at that time. Thank you so much. And now, Senator Manning wishes to make a few remarks as well.
Thank you, Senator Bacon, and President Baker and Speaker and the Governor. And Happy New Year to everyone. What a great way to start the new year with everybody voting for it and such a great initiative. This isn't about just jobs. It's also about helping our communities. And that's one of the things that I like best about this. It is something that we have given to the local governments, that they get to make the decisions on how they want to, which projects are very, very important to them. I think that's so very important that we allow our local communities to be able to do that. In my district, which is Lorain and Huron counties, I've had the opportunity to speak to both the county commissioners and engineers, and they say this is the single most important financial mechanism that they can use to help their local communities. And so I think that's why this is so very important. I look forward to being able to testify in the House and have a unanimous vote in the House too. Thank you.
I think it is now my pleasure to introduce my good friend and the leader of the House, Speaker Batchelder. This is it's just been a pleasure to work with the Speaker in the House. And I think we've seen great rewards from our collaborative efforts in the legislature. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that, Mr. President, in no small part because one of the things that I always worried about with this program when it first came into effect was that there would not be cooperation between the houses. But of course, that has not at all been the situation that we face in this session. We very much appreciate your work. And this is an example of how these things, when they're done cooperatively, work. This bill is having contemporaneous study in both houses. The Senate agreed to go first with the resolution, and they've done a great job in terms of looking at the language and all those other things. But equally important, they've gotten the thing done in a way that will make sure that it's on the ballot timely so that we can have an election which will produce a result that this particular issue always has produced.
Bill,
and that is
I'm
important.
glad that it's being handled contemporaneously. I just hope it'll happen at the same time, too. I do that for some.
I've encouraged
Bill, sometimes you need an interpreter for the press.
Well, I won't say what I was going to say. Namely, I've always encouraged the governor to go to law school, but I won't mention that. I'm fortunate to have here with me today the two people who are working the bill in the House. I can remember when Senator Congressman Gilmore came up with this program. Of course, I can remember a lot of things other people can't remember because I was here so damn long. But the bottom line is that the new members as they come in, and as we go out to recruit, we look for people who understand local government. And here we have someone from the city and someone from the county level. And so they are obviously pre-trained before we bring them to the House of Representatives. Stephanie Kuntz, who served on City Council, and she's provided great leadership for us in the House. We're very proud of her, and I would like to ask her to come forward and say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, President Weber and Governor Kasich. I could re-echo, or echo, I guess, I don't want to re-echo. Echo all of the statements that were said previously, but it's an honor to carry this bill in the House. As a local government official, I've seen in my own district, as Senator Manning mentioned, the improvements that these funds have made. And I wanted to touch real briefly also on the safety aspect that these monies provide to communities and to families. As a mother of a recent teenage driver, the one project that sticks in my mind right now in my community is a roundabout the funds were used to provide a much safer mechanism of travel throughout Hilliard. Not only is it a faster way to get to work and school, but it's more of a safe driving situation thanks to these improvements in the funds that this provided. So not only does it provide jobs, does it give local governments a choice in what projects are important to them, but it does provide a level of safety, not just on the roadways, but with wastewater and other very important, vital infrastructure improvements to our communities. So thank you, and I would like to, it's my privilege to introduce Representative Brown, who is also working on this diligently with me in the House.
Thank you, Stephanie. The Speaker described us as pre-trained coming into the House, but behind closed doors they'll tell you we're house-trained. I represent the 3rd Ohio House District in Northwest Ohio and was a county commissioner 15 years prior. And I can tell you that the Speaker's and the Governor's leadership on this issue has been very meaningful to us at the local level of government over the decades that this program has been in place. When a school bus is routed out of its way because of a closed road or a weight load limited bridge, our children spend more time on the roads than what is necessary. When an emergency response vehicle is deterred because of a closed road or a weight load limited bridge, precious moments are wasted in responding to the needs of our citizens. This is a very important public safety and health aspect. I represent an area in Northwest Ohio and travel periodically into our neighboring states where I can tell you that Ohio's focus on infrastructure is not comparable to some of our neighboring states. Detroit, for example, where 80% of their water lines are 100 years old or older, some of them the original wooden lines installed in the late 1800s, says that there is a difference between Ohio addresses public safety and issues that ultimately impact jobs and economic development growth. So it has been my honor to work with this program over the decades, my privilege to work with the governor in ensuring that this important issue is passed and continues to provide health, safety, and economic benefits to the people of Ohio. My privilege to join Stephanie Kuntz as a joint sponsor of the bill in the House, and I look forward to talking with you throughout the course of the campaign on this important subject. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm all right.
I think we got here together, and it was a concatenation of fortuitous events. To study Latin. I just want to say that we're here today because really of the discipline in state spending that has been absolutely undertaken and imposed by our next speaker, the governor of this state. And very frankly, it is going to provide a great future for the people that I will not have the privilege of serving with, but who will be here later. And it's important that we understand what that discipline involves, how many sacrifices this governor has gone through, but more importantly, the success that has been achieved in that regard. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege for me to introduce the governor of the state of Ohio, John Kasich.
All right, Bill's just sweet on me because we're going to Medina. Well, there's a number of things that are really great, and I love what what Selassie said, and that is, you said rebuilding Ohio. That's exactly the way I look at it. So you think about this, and I know, you all followed politics for a long time, but every once in a while you got to step back and look at accomplishments. I mean, you think we were $8 billion in the hole. Tim Keene and I go up to New York to meet with the rating agencies. Our credit is headed down. We expected we were going to have a downgrade. They didn't believe any of what we told them about how we were going to balance the budget, about how we were going to grow the economy, and it's happened. And every time we go up there, we kind of have a good time and we chuckle with them. And we've been able to show that we have challenges, there's no question about it. But they see Ohio more and more the way we see Ohio, with its great potential. So getting the credit solidified, and let me tell you, that's important for economic development, because more and more companies, they want to know that if they come to a state, they're not going to get whacked upside the head. In Illinois now, the legislature in Illinois, my understanding is they've passed 2 separate pieces of legislation. One, to keep Sears, which we were in the fight for, and you would never realize how much effort we had put into that. Thank goodness we didn't win that one. And the second one has just been ADM, where the legislature then went and passed. Now, these one-off passing legislation to help companies, that's a short runway. I mean, you run out of runway after a while. Increasingly, companies look at where they believe they have stability and they're comfortable. As most of you know, if you don't, I'll tell you that I was just in Detroit meeting with of course, the big 3 in Honda. I think our auto industry in the state has gotten stronger. I anticipate that it will be even further strengthened in this state. We work well with the auto companies because they know when they come here it's no nonsense. And of course we continue to celebrate every day the great win we have with our Chinese friends in Dayton. Now, I'm really, really pleased that we could have the folks here who were involved in advanced training, kind of like my neighborhood guys, where I grew up. You get blue collar who are becoming increasingly sophisticated in the way they manage projects. Pat Sink and I have had a great partnership in terms of the energy companies. Do not go and do all this energy business and don't include Ohioans. We're going to have a meeting here, I don't know, is it in the next week or so, Matt, learn with the state of Ohio being able to fully adopt the training programs that we have in these construction trades. Being able to promote vocational education, technical education, understanding. It's like when I was in Detroit, the guy said, well, we need more warehouse workers. And then he quickly changed it to say, warehouse, no, we need logistics workers. So all of a sudden, we're starting to realize that, the people where I grew up, people that were my neighbors, they have to become increasingly sophisticated, better trained with the technologies of the day. We are taking our job training and we are going to merge a lot of it and learn from people in the trade unions, because they have figured this out and we need to work with them and not have to reinvent the wheel. So we started, with the energy business, we now have more Ohioans working. That's good news. So let's think about the other things we're trying to do to shine up the state or rebuild the state. So you all remember when we wanted to extract value from the turnpike. I could hear a collective, not only nervousness, but some amount of outrage from people who live near the turnpike. This can't be done, this shouldn't be done, this is a terrible idea. In fact, I think Tim was one of them. Wasn't he? I think he was one of them. So, as a result of that program, we're able to yank out initially $1 billion without any of the changes that need to be made in efficiencies, which will lead to ultimately another couple $2 billion. So, come the season at which you start seeing construction, put some nice music in your car, because you're going to be stuck all over the state trying to get through places as we shine up the state. When I go through these things, I look at the people that are out there working. So they go home at night and they're with their, there's women out there now. It's not a one-sex operation anymore. You got men and women working on these projects. They go home to their families. They're making a pretty good living, aren't they? Matt? Pat, what kind of money are they making?
They good average wage. They exceed the average wage in Ohio. It depends on the season too, because they have to take a sabbatical in the winter and get laid off. But that's a time for retraining.
Yeah, we were all trying to figure out how to get a sabbatical, so we haven't done that yet. But the point is, they're really good paying jobs. And they're going to be around for a while because these projects are spread out over a long period of time. When we think about safety or when we think about job opportunities, I just always think about the Opportunity Corridor in Cleveland, which is going to open up that whole area up near the Cleveland Clinic. And what a great gem we have up there with CASE and UH. And so, that's great stuff. So that whole highway project, you will see it significantly growing as we get to the spring and to the construction season. I love the bridge stuff. I have been worried about bridges since I learned about the tragedy in Minnesota. Now, state government has never, somebody told me, I think it was one of the county commissioners, that state government has never helped anybody build a bridge at the local level, is what I was told. Is that right, Commissioner? This is the first time that the state of Ohio has directly involved itself in bridge building. Now, you can't fix all the bridges, but we're going to do our darndest to make sure that these bridges are in good shape so our school buses can go across them and people can be safe as best as we can. You can never, I look at West Virginia, I learned from all these things. I look at West Virginia and I look at the spill over there and I say, okay, what are we doing? And you can never protect against everything, but the bridge program is great. Then we have the capital bill, and I'm really excited about the capital bill because working with the legislative leaders, we've changed the way we do it. You have Stephanie talking about local people being able to make determinations at the local level. So this capital bill with the arts program, instead of a handful of well-connected political people in Columbus deciding what the arts are going to look like, we've created priorities at the local level, and now there's going to be a chunk of money for people who love the arts, and I love the arts, to be able to be in a position to be able to fund those projects that they consider to be Ohio's greatest priorities. The legislature, of course, will put the finishing touches and make changes, but the idea that this is growing from the bottom up empowers the local community and gives them money. And then if you take a look at community projects, which sometimes are connected to arts, but other times connected to economic development, that's also flowing from the bottom up, with the legislature, again, being able to go back in and establish the right priorities, because we don't want politics at the local level any more than we want them at the state level. So this is a great process, and it's been accepted. And then on top of this, of course, we have this project coming now, and this is significant. I wanted to increase the amount of funding for this because you fix the highways, you fix the arts, you improve the community projects, and you begin to help local governments with these enormously expensive programs, some of which, I think, have the cost driven up because of federal rules and regulations. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so it'd be great if we could figure out how to fix that. That's for a president to do and a Congress to do. But being able to take care of these drinking water systems and, all these things that they have, this is critical. Because you don't want to have people who can't get around in their communities. And I am thrilled to hear what Tim has said about what we're doing here compared to other states. I'm thrilled that we've got the labor folks that are engaged in all these projects. And it's a big chunk of money. And we can do it without having to put ourselves at risk. So all the gnashing of teeth and all the complaining and everything that went on here, of course didn't go on too much out there, but about spending and all that, and having a rainy day fund, which we are not going to spend, having a rainy day fund, having security, having an improvement in the credit outlook of the state allows us to do this. So it's no different than the lessons we teach our children. Put your money in a piggy bank, time will come when you go to the mall. And you can have a lot better time at the mall if you're responsible when you put money in your piggy bank. It's not that complicated. This is a great project. Everybody will campaign for it. Hopefully the voters will approve it.